Here is your December 24 state compliance update. Hey, I'm Morgan Davis. I'm an attorney based in Raleigh, North Carolina with a focus in health and wellness. Let's talk about how to keep your business protected and thriving. One of the biggest needs in hemp and in the hemp and cannabis space is regulatory compliance, which if you're a small business, even a medium-sized business, it's really tough to keep up with the constant changes and the legislative action and the trends going on in the hemp and cannabis space. So to aid in that process, I'm coming up with the monthly updates on what's happened in the last 30, 60, 90 days across the United States in key states for the hemp and cannabis space. So today, as of December 12th, 2024, here are the major updates for the last 30 days. Texas, you've been quiet for a while, hitting the new 2025 scene with a huge splash. Last week, the lieutenant governor, in line with a senator in Texas, introduced a bill that's going to ban all THC in all products in the state of Texas. Texas legislature comes back into session in January. That will be one of the first bills to be considered. It is a major legislative desire of the lieutenant governor, as well as several other Republican senators. Seems to be that there's a lot of support for it, or at least at the moment, a lot of noise around it. So if you are a hemp business in Texas, if you are a hemp business selling a lot of products into Texas, which is pretty much everybody because it's a massive market, time to call your lobbyist, time to call your local trade association and make sure that somebody is in the Texas legislature for you starting in January, because they're going to try and shut the whole state down. Florida's got administrative regulations that have been proposed and are slowly moving their way through the administrative regulation process. These regulations are created based on some regulations that were created over a year and a half ago that came with a lot of points yet to be defined. Some of those points include artificial coloring or coloring at all in hemp edible products, the standard of what child-resistant packaging means, as well as some marketing of hemp products in Florida. The public hearing for those happened on the 10th, so just a few days ago. The public comment period will be held open until next week, at which point it will close, and then come January, hopefully, we'll hear something from the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services as to what they're adopting or what they're not adopting. But if it passes in its current form, all edible hemp products in the state of Florida will not be able to contain anything solely for the purpose of color. That includes even natural ingredients for color. That mirrors the Florida cannabis side, where they have all black and white packaging and all colorless gummies and colorless everything. It's not the end of the world, but it certainly means that a lot of people are going to have to reformulate. Ohio, Senate Bill 326, about 30 days ago now, was proposed. It's moved from the initial introduction into a Senate committee and is being debated. Senate Bill 326 puts in very low milligram caps of 0.5 milligrams of Delta-9 THC per serving, and 2 milligrams per package of Delta-9. If you are using any other type of THC, such as Delta-8, you will only be able to put in 0.5 milligrams total per package. So extremely low milligram caps. Probably not going to happen. Nothing's going to be finalized until next year, but we will be watching that as it moves through committee. We expect it to pick up some momentum in the beginning of 2025. So if you are a hemp company in Ohio, if you are selling a lot of products in Ohio, time to get up and go find your local lobbyist, go to your local trade association, make sure that you've got representation in the Ohio legislature because they're coming for you. Missouri, HB 393. Missouri was a wild ride last year. We had like a ban, and then that was, the AG basically tossed out the ban, and then there was a whole move that they were going to try and do raids anyway. And it was this back and forth between the executive branch and the legislative branch. And anyway, basically nothing ended up happening in Missouri. Well, now there have been 3 bills pre-filed in Missouri as of the beginning of this month that one of which we can't really see yet, the other of which we're going to talk about in a minute, and one of which has to deal with commercial feed, so don't worry about that one. But HB 393 is the most significant so far. It adopts a total THC standard. So moving forward in Missouri, if this bill passes in the new year, the Delta 9 standard will no longer be the standard in Missouri. It will be the total THC standard, meaning THCA and Delta 9. So THCA flower, this means you. It will implement licensing for manufacturing, wholesaling, and retailing of hemp products in Missouri, limit sales to 21 plus, and it's going to set milligram caps by category. So for edibles, you're going to be looking at 5 milligrams per serving in the aggregate of Delta 9 and Delta 8. They are going to ban all other types of THC. Anything that is not naturally occurring in the plant will not be allowed in Missouri under this new legislation, with a total of 100 milligrams per package for edibles. Beverages will be 10 milligrams in the aggregate per serving, which basically you can only have it 1 serving per can unless you increase the amount of milliliters to 750 milliliters, and a whole bunch of other sort of small instances there. But bright line rule is going to be 10 milligrams per can. Tinctures and inhalables will have their own limitations. Inhalables, it's going to be 2 milliliters or 2 grams per device. In the aggregate of the Delta 8 and Delta 9. So if you've got a blend, it's going to be a combination of both, not one or the other. Finally, California. So right now, we're still in emergency regulation ban territory in California. So nothing can be sold in California. But a AB 8 has been filed, probably to be considered next year, starting in January. I believe the next committee meeting is in the beginning of January. Would require out-of-state manufacturers to register with the California Department of Public Health to sell hemp products in the state of California. Now, there is a current requirement that manufacturers of hemp products in the state of California have to register with the CDPH. There has always been sort of a lack of clarity around whether or not out-of-state manufacturers also had to register. That process didn't exist. It wasn't clear, so nobody had to. This now clarifies that. If you are not in the state of California, you are out of the state of California manufacturing hemp products to sell into the state of California, you will have to register with the California Department of Public Health. It also specifically allows regulated cannabis licensees to produce hemp products. So no longer saying you can only, if you're a regulated cannabis licensee, can you produce products with hemp and marijuana or hemp and regulated cannabis, but saying if you're a regulated cannabis licensee in California, you can also produce hemp products as long as they comply with state law. Why? California has long been sort of, one of the original states where we saw this war between hemp and regulated cannabis begin. And the regulated cannabis industry has a very strong foothold there, but there's also a very strong hemp market. There's a very strong hemp manufacturing market for quite a while. And so regulated cannabis has been trying to push hemp out for a long time. This recent emergency ban seems to have, given them a huge leg up in that department. I think the point of this bill is to say we're going to start heavily regulating all hemp manufacturers, whether you're in state or out of state, And we're going to give our regulated cannabis friends a leg up by allowing them to now produce these hemp products under the same license, not require them to get new licenses, nothing. They can do it in the same, arguably in the same facilities, as long as they comply with state law. What will that do? Might make it a lot easier for regulated cannabis licensees to make money on both the regulated cannabis side of the business as well as on the hemp side of the business. Very, very interesting turn of events in California. We'll see how it plays out. So if I had to give a flavor of what the regulatory compliance and or legislative trend looks like in December 2024, I would say that it's a rough start to 2025 for all of us in the hemp business. Texas, Florida, Ohio, Missouri, these are massive states for the hemp business. And to see these kinds of changes happening doesn't feel great to start 2025, especially in light of all the debate going on in the Farm Bill. Does that mean we need to freak out and, the sky is falling, doom and gloom? No, it absolutely doesn't. And if we've learned anything in this industry, is that just because something's proposed doesn't mean it'll pass. It could be vetoed. It could die at the last minute. Half these states have tried to do something like this before and have yet to be successful. What it does mean is that there's a continued and consistent amount of stress and unknown for all of us in the hemp business. And if I've said it before, I'll say it again. Be ready to pivot. Be ready to move your business and change your course and change where you're selling. Obviously, if you're looking at forming new distribution partnerships in some of these states, it's key to understand what's going on so you're not biting off more than you can chew. Having great legal counsel to help you navigate the changes and how that affects your business is extremely important. Equally important is having representation in these states at the legislature, at the regulatory body, whatever that may be, to represent your business interests. So make sure that you are getting a membership with a trade association that aligns with your business's products and or your mission. Make sure that if you've got the funds, you're hiring a lobbyist in the key states for your business. Don't wait for somebody else to do the work for you. Make sure you've got a place at the table. If you find that you're having trouble keeping up with all the changes and you need more than a monthly update, we offer a 50-state regulatory compliance review specific to your business and your product line. We'd love to help you make sure that your business is protected and thriving moving into 2025.